If you want to understand the media industry, we need to start with broadcast television. I'm Professor Einstein, and I talk about the dark arts of media and marketing. I know from talking with my students that they don't fully understand the difference between broadcast and cable and how it impacts the kind of content that they see. One student even said to me, well, can't we just get rid of broadcast television? And the answer is no. Broadcast television is free over-the-air TV. So that's ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. And if you're talking about non-commercial TV, you're talking about PBS. A network produces programming at a central source and then distributes it to its affiliates throughout the United States in about 200 markets. Network programming are things like Good Morning America and the Today Show in the morning, or things like Grey's Anatomy and The Voice during prime time. But that programming doesn't cover the entire day. So the stations have to produce their own programming in the times that they are not given shows by the network. So that's why you see a lot of news programming during the day on broadcast channels, because it's very inexpensive to produce. Stations can also air syndicated programming. That's things like game shows and talk shows and judge shows. So the network produces its programming, but it also has stations that it owns. Those are special kinds of affiliates called owned and operated stations, or O&Os. And broadcasters tend to own those stations in the biggest markets in the country. So Los Angeles, New York, Chicago. But networks can only own stations that cover up to 39% of the United States. So not every station is owned by the network, and the stations that aren't owned by the network are owned by what are known as station groups. Those are companies like Hearst or Sinclair or Tribune. Regulation doesn't affect the network, it affects the individual stations. So if you remember the Janet Jackson Super Bowl costume mishap, it wasn't the network that was affected, it was the stations. And broadcasters are public trustees. They don't own the airwaves. We do.